Yeah.
All right. Recording is running, guys. Whatever that's worth.
Okay.
Phones.
Got 1 minute, yeah.
Does everybody have their phones off? Please, thank you.
Oh, let's call this to order. I like your style. Why rush? I'm gonna call this meeting of Deep Creek Watershed Board of Zoning Appeals in session. Tonight we have 3 cases, 2 variances and a special exception. I guess a little bit of background information. We have the full board here tonight, so it takes 3 votes to approve an application or a variance or a special exception. If for some reason we should have a tie, which would mean maybe 1 abstention and 2 one way to the other, well, we have to postpone until the next meeting, or we can take 10 days to take additional testimony and reconvene at some point. We have done that just recently, first time since I've been on the board. And it's still a public meeting, but we don't take testimony in our deliberation part of our hearings. So the process is the applicant comes up in front of us. We swear you in as a quasi-judicial meeting, and we take your testimony, and then we take any testimony in support, then we take testimony in opposition, and then we give the applicant a chance to rebut and summarize, and then we're through to taking testimony at that point. We've been doing deliberations right after hearing the case since the COVID stuff. I think we'll probably stay on that path as somebody wants to change, except for the one where you just postpone one, but that's okay. I don't think that's going to happen this evening. Tonight, again, we have 2 different types of cases. Variances, you have to show practical difficulty and hardship that lies with the property, and it doesn't allow you to use it. It's the hardest to get, so you really have to follow the ordinance. That's what we go by. We go strictly by ordinance and case law, which is very pertinent for special exception. The variance is it's hard to get, so make sure you follow what's in the ordinance to address all the concerns that are in there to make it easy for us to make a decision. The special exception, if you read the ordinance, it says that we have to deny it if it doesn't meet certain criteria, but if you read case law, it's presumed approved because of Fritz versus Schultz. And in that case, you have to show that it's more adverse impact at the location proposed than anywhere else in the ordinance. Very difficult to prove that, but we can put conditions and consider issues of impact that are associated with a special exception, and we often do that. Cell phones off. We are appointed by the county commissioners, and we answer to them. They can fire us anytime if they'd like. We get a small stipend. Some keep it, some donate it, and some don't take it, from my understanding, but I don't think it's really a big problem for us. What else? Am I forgetting? You got 30 days to an appeal. You might keep that in mind from both sides. If you want to appeal a decision, you have 30 days to get it into the circuit court. If you get approved, somebody has 30 days to go to the court, and before you proceed and spend much money and somebody goes files a case, you might want to keep that in mind. So, anything else I need to add, gentlemen?
No, sir. I think that's my perspective.
Alrighty. I do it different every time. Just
Do we have folks here for Deep Creek Solutions?
yeah.
Oh, very good. You ready for me?
Yes, go ahead.
So the first case tonight is submitted by Deep Creek Solutions LLC for a variance to allow the replacement of an existing single-family residence. The owner proposes to build within the current non-conforming grandfathered 7-foot side setback and to within 28 feet of an existing neighboring structure. Property is located on 292 Brant Road, tax map 59, parcel 204, and is zoned LR1. And I'm sorry, who was,
That's me.
you're gonna,
Well, that's, any other correspondence, letters?
just from the DNR, with no objections.
Okay. Come on up, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this application for a variance for the Deep Creek Watershed Board of Zoning Appeals, truth, the whole truth, so you swear or affirm?
I do.
Name and address for the record.
Max Lares, 22 Grand Road.
You get that, Bruce?
I'm just gonna give him a microphone.
Boy, high tech. What is that?
Well, that's fine.
Okay, tell us what you want to do.
Right, so the proposed structure utilizes the grandfather setback on the western sideline and will comply with the normal setbacks on the other 2 sides. The requirement for a variance is triggered by the proximity, less than 30 foot, to the existing house on the eastern adjoiner, which is closer than the 15-foot side setback. We request a variance due to the use of the grandfather setback for 7.59 on the western side, which is the opposite side. We're applying for the variance because of the strict application of the provisions of the Deep Creek Watershed zoning ordinance as it applies to the side setbacks. Will create an unnecessary hardship by restricting our ability to build using existing and grandfather setbacks. It prevents the reasonable use of the lot in a manner consistent with how it is currently and it has been historically used. The proposed house will not be contrary to public interest or injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. The granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general purpose of the ordinance. The proposed house will not adversely affect the adjoining property owner's use of the property and its character with the structures of the neighborhood.
Pretty good job covering the current points in the ordinance. Gentlemen, questions?
Do you happen to have any elevations of the house that you'll be building?
No, right now, we started with all the flats and all that, and that's when this issue came up. So we basically, we're looking at the setbacks and all that, that's where we stopped.
But do you have a house planned?
Yeah.
The total square footage of that property might be?
Right now, it is pretty typical, it's 3-level basement, on the ground floor, number 4. Very similar to the 2 that are on the side, they're very, like, but.
Two levels above ground there.
2 levels on the front.
Very good.
Yeah.
And,
Then, the house, it's the same, the sides, both houses, on both sides are the same thing, they have one basement and then
Yes.
ground.
Mhm. And if I recall correctly from your applications, just over 1,300 square foot to the base of the house that you'll be building.
Yeah, and that sounds right.
Bob?
No, sir, no questions.
Steve? Bruce? You are the owner, sir?
Yes,
I'm good. Anybody else want to speak in favor of this application? Anybody want to speak in opposition to this application? Anything else you want to add? All righty, then we'll go into deliberations on this. You can sit back there if you'd like, or you sit there for now. All right, gentlemen, what do we?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question,
Yes, sir.
and it goes to Billingham's question about seeing the elevations. I don't know, and I'm asking for basically a point of order with regards to the ordinance. Should we see those before we not necessarily before we render a decision, but make it conditional that we see the elevation prior to the construction starting. I have no reason to disbelieve the witness, but it would be a certainty if we could see the elevations that we know that would fit in with the other homes in the neighborhood.
We don't have a requirement that says that. We often prefer to have that. I'm not sure that, listen to his testimony, he didn't want to spend money on a drawing that might get turned down.
I understand that. I don't fault that.
1,300 square foot is not exactly huge, but well, the aesthetics of it is perfect.
Yeah.
Pertinent and in keeping with the variance request for being fitting within the neighborhood and being a structure that fits. And to Bob's point, I have no reason to disbelieve the testimony that we received, but it'd be
No
nice
question.
to have some confirmation.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, well, I think to Mr. Hoffman's point, looking forward, if we could have that.
We probably should have asked for at least coloring and pictures inside it. But
And certainly, with the variance, we can put some,
well, he said he's going to keep it in
keep
style.
it in keeping. Right.
Oh, I think it's nice to see a design. It's really not our purview, I don't believe. I mean, the county requirements are gonna, we're here to talk about a footprint. The county requirements are gonna make sure it's not too tall and everything. I agree that it's nice to see the drawing. I don't believe we need to see it. We're not the style police. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'm gonna second it.
Motion second, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Gonna have a ballot.
Hey, Bob, there is height restrictions on it. You know, he can go a lot higher than what's there, but there is height restrictions.
Good.
Let's see.
817.
817.
It's really not there. It's the grandfather thing.
That's an excellent. I was already there.
We're not gonna have to hear this.
Sure you did.
We're seeing now, I mean, what is the,
You can apply for
property isn't exceptionally
You
anything.
can apply for permits and other leisure permits.
I would say I'm gonna go with other because of the grandfather setback.
That part of the ordinance is going to change in the next iteration.
Yes, yes.
Let me know if we'll pass it through this. You always should inspect mine.
Still the 17th?
Yes, sir. Till about 11 or 12 o'clock tonight. And it's going to change.
Lever to out.
Depends on how long you stay up. I think I got it. If I get them all, Bruce, check me, please. Please.
You did indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Got helicopters here.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See, Ted?
Our second case tonight is submitted by Joseph and Stephanie Kehoe. They've applied for a variance to allow the construction of a new accessory garage to within 30 feet of the front property line. The property is located at 267 Woodland Hills Lane, tax map 57, parcel 558, lot 33, grid 18, and is zoned Lake Residential 1. And that's a variance from a 40-foot setback to 30. And Mr. Kehoe is here to present that case.
Letters?
Nothing for this case at all.
You solemnly swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give in this application for variance before the Deep Creek Watershed Board of Zoning Appeals. The truth, the whole truth, so you swear or affirm?
I do.
And name and address for the record.
Joseph Kehoe, 267 Woodland Hills.
Stand if you want. Tell us what you do.
Okay, so I'll note this roughly, okay? I'm looking, I just had a house built by Advantage Builders, who's here to answer any technical questions. We have 2.2 acres, less than a third of that, about a third of that is usable. The rest of it's woods and sloped. And of course, the house is beautiful, but it needs a garage. The garage is used because I still have to maintain that property. I'm gonna need to put equipment in there, you know, be able to store stuff. We did have the Highland engineers came out a few times. Cost a lot of money to try to really figure out so we can meet the setback requirements. This is really the best that we came up with, is the setback of, I think it's 30.49 feet. And at that point, we can get a 2-car, 24 by 24 garage. It is not, it's not going to impair any adequate light and air to the adjacent property. It's not going to impact any views from the neighbors or adjacent properties. It's not going to be detrimental to the public welfare. And just to hit on the topics, you know, to know, you know, if you guys grant the variance, the will not permit the establishment within a district of any use. So I hope I hit them 5 points. Basically, I would like to get permission just to take 10 foot of that setback from 40 to 30 so I can have this garage built. And I really we've tried all kinds of ways to make sure we conform to that 40 foot, but it's just impossible. And to have a house that size up there, I have to have a garage.
It's impossible because of the grade of the property.
Correct, yes. Correct. It's impossible because of the grade of the property. If you walked off my hill, you'd probably break all your arms.
We walked,
We
we
did.
were there. We didn't walk to the edge.
We held hands.
I'm looking around for some
Over that
repelling
sucker.
equipment.
If I put a garage at the bottom, I would need an elevator to get up to the
Yeah,
top.
you're right.
Do you wear a miner's helmet with a light on it at night?
Yes. No, because the barrel down there, I'm good. So that's why I'm asking permission for the variance, so we can get that done. The garage is gonna match the siding and all the outside structure is gonna be the same as the house. And yeah, it's gonna look really good.
Beautiful home.
It is a beautiful home, and if your location pick, I can see where that would be the sole spot for it to be. And it's gonna be tucked in among those trees, so I would totally agree with your testimony that you're not going to be impairing views there. Now, the height of it, I'm sorry.
It's just a 9 feet with a 412 pitch one.
Yeah, that was my only question.
See this too? He's got a very legal thing right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's another reason why I can't get much closer.
Any further questions?
No, sir.
Satisfied?
Anybody want to speak in favor? Opposition? Anything else you want to say?
No?
Deliberations. I think you may have a practical difficulty.
Let's make it fast. I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second that. Yeah, we were there.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, gentlemen.
You done?
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck.
I'm not building, he's building it. Pay for it.
I just hope you don't get lost at night trying to find it.
Is that eight?
Don't make us go back out there.
818.
And that, enter in sequence.
Steep, no question.
Can we put 2 check marks on steep?
How about adding in a regular?
Steve?
818.
Boy, that's going to have beautiful house.
You? It's up, I'll hold the thought, let you.
One more yes, please.
One more yes, please.
Rear?
Front door.
Yeah, here. I thought you had pointed down to the rear yard.
Good to go.
Good.
What was the one,
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Thank you.
do I have to do not this
No.
one? Just, I think I got it. Thank you. Go ahead.
I didn't check any hunts or the opening on the last ballot. Not that one.
You didn't check what?
Any-
Steep or narrow or, well,
Well, it really isn't.
Didn't even much question about whether it's steep.
the brand.
Alrighty, let's move on to SC 494.
All right, third and final, special exception 494, submitted by Mr. Bob Rayleigh on behalf of Thousand Acres Golf LLC. They've applied for a special exception permit to allow the construction of a public golf course clubhouse associated with the 18-hole public golf course. The clubhouse is to provide support facilities and services to members and guests, public, including pro golf shop, restaurant, lounge, meeting, exercise, and locker rooms, and golf cart storage and maintenance facilities. The property is located on Thousand Acres Road, tax map 67, parcel 780, and is zoned LR1. And we have Mr. Stork to present.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this special exception before the Deep Creek Watershed Board of Zoning Appeals, the truth, the whole truth, so you swear or affirm?
I do.
I don't. Your name and address for the record?
Short, 30 Skyview Drive, McHenry, Maryland.
There's no, well, we've had several correspondence.
You had several correspondence, and I actually got two more letters of in favor of in the last couple hours, so just FYI. A reiteration of what the others that I sent earlier to you. Do you want to read it?
There's just
I
one
can-
opposition.
One in opposition, correct.
I think we've seen all of the last two.
Correct.
They're basically the same.
Basically the same. In favor of stating that basically everyone has stated that they've been waiting for the completion of the course and the clubhouse.
We read them. The first one.
Okay.
Somebody did a lot of work here. I'm just gonna let you go ahead and
All right.
rant, and we'll try and pick any mistakes.
You have some, a small picture, I'll give you a little bit bigger, it's still not with regard to the scale on this, but give you a little bigger, a better idea of what we're looking at.
Where'd you get the pink trees?
This is where the
Dogwood?
building is right there.
Down here, right?
Pardon?
Lake's down here.
I'm fine, Doug. How you doing? Good, thank you. Got it.
So where we came in from here, we were right here.
That's
Yeah, you
about
come in
correct,
from
yes.
there with a
Yes.
circle there, come in.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, you're trying, where your reference?
Yeah, where we
There's
were,
a-
we were right here today. I
Yeah, there's a
think.
little dot, if you look, there's a little dotted, right here is the clubhouse, the existing clubhouse, there's a little dotted in.
It's this one right here,
Yeah,
right?
that's
The
it right
little
there,
square.
so if you know for your reference, that's kind of.
I actually highlighted it on the one that I
did you?
sent to
Okay.
them.
Okay.
But we were sitting right here
That's
today.
what-
This
that's
is
what
where I
that was, okay.
presented the site
Is
to
that-
them when we visited.
Okay.
That fit?
So all the other structures are proposed.
There we go.
I see it now, okay.
So yes, so finally, after long last, the golf course is almost done, so the final thing is to put in a nice clubhouse for us. The clubhouse is gonna be, meets the criteria for the comprehensive plan of Pierce County.
Hey Doug, can I get you to get in front of the microphone, because we're broadcasting live as
sorry.
well. Thank you.
That's it right there.
Yeah, so as we were putting this together, we went through, and obviously if you read through our description with the comprehensive plan, we definitely meet all the criteria and exceed that. The building's going to be in harmony with the area. We Actually, I have some pictures of that as well. Let me slide it. We have a concept that we're looking at. We didn't do a full set of drawings for it yet because for obvious reasons, but we do have a concept that we're looking at. It's more of a modern rustic style, so that's
Modern rustic.
Modern
That
rustic.
makes sense. It's an oxymoron.
Well, on that particular road, I've done a couple of houses on that road, and we looked at basically the lodge style. But we wanted something to be more timeless, so to be in harmony with the area and be long lasting. We kind of did a combination of where we have timber and glass, so we can, and it's where it sits based on that site plan. We're looking at looking over the pond, looking toward the lake, and this particular, it's a 3-level structure we're proposing, and so that we'll have our restaurant on the main level and most of the pro shop on the lower level with locker rooms, kind of divide the space up a little bit.
You're gonna work within that 50-foot elevation, right?
We are. We're that right there. That sketch that we have is roughly 42 feet max. And then the third item, for the special exception, we looked at the traffic pattern, and there's an existing road, obviously there's an existing road there. We're going to make use of that existing road. The nice thing about 1,000 Acres is when you pull in, you have that boulevard that takes you down through, and that'll handle the traffic that we need to take us to the golf course. We put in quite a bit of additional parking on that, and it's more than we actually need. But the reason we did that is because the use for the golf course is, it gets quite a bit of use, so we want to make sure we had an additional parking for that. Because right now we're required to have 48 spaces, but we wanted additional parking for that area. But then what we did with the road system is we took the road through. We don't go through any of the residential areas, and that was key, because we didn't want to have traffic for this area to go for a public right away to go through this area. So what we did is it stops before the residential area at the end. The road will actually be an intersection to the properties that are past that, which right now there are 4 houses. So we've taken all that into consideration, and the way we've taken the lane through, it takes the major traffic away from the parking areas, so that it's safe pedestrian areas. And for where we put the cart building, we put it off so that you're not crossing over the roadway constantly, so it's all protected.
So that's Lakeside Club Drive that you're talking about?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, as it comes around, the existing road is kind of right there, and then it ties back in after we get through the end there. It narrows back down, so we can handle the traffic from the boulevard coming in with the roundabouts. And we have a separate area for employee parking.
97 spaces for the restaurant lounge, 20 spaces for employees, and 48 for players.
Correct.
So as far as any kind of impact, I mean, the golf course is there. You
golf course is
already have
there.
everybody coming there already.
That's correct.
So you're probably improving the
We
flow.
are. We're actually improving the safety for sure, because right now you have the main thoroughfare there is narrow, is a small road. Now we're able to broaden the road, handle the traffic, put the parking in a place where it's not right off the road. And the car paths, we just have a couple of crossing areas, so we increase the safety for people taking the car path across the road.
Is that what those white areas are? Is that,
Yes.
That's a
Yep.
car path?
Yeah, so we have, and they're in intersections where there's stop signs, so that we can also make sure that traffic is moving slow in those areas.
And you're saying through traffic, there's only four?
Four residences
Residents.
now, and I think we have lots, there are only a few lots left, 3 lots left in that area, so we're not talking
I think there's about 8 total.
8
down there.
total, right.
So that's probably as low impact as you're
Very
gonna have
low
in
impact,
1,000
exactly.
acres, right?
Mhm.
This is the correct building over here.
In that greener area in the center, we're protecting, this is a wetland area, and we're protecting that wetland, working around it. Actually, it puts a really nice buffer because it allows some screening of the cart building. So it really actually helps the site plan.
Do you know what the footprint is?
Of
Roughly?
the building?
Of the main building?
Of the main building, 100 by 7.
100.
It's 6,500 square feet.
6,500 square foot per level, and then there's a
Oh, I
third
see.
level that's narrower, yes.
1,500 no loft.
Correct.
A little bigger than some of the houses back here.
Right, that's true. That's true.
I think we just did one, 18,000.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, some of the things we're doing, we're trying to have this as low impact for the neighborhood too. So we're gonna go with lighting that's all down lighting, try to, so it's not, so it feels more as a residential structure than a public structure.
I noted earlier, when they came before, it was a contentious submittal, and I think one of the worries there was the noise at the lake, and now you're pulled back from the lake a good bit, and you're really screened now.
We are, we're
so-
screened from the lake, we're screened, we're actually screened all around, really,
Right.
and we're protected with the pond in the front, and again, so we've kind of adjusted so that we don't have all those impacts that were concerns last time.
Right.
In the marina.
Right, correct.
We had 850 feet from the nearest resident.
The nearest house, right. And there's a lot of vegetation between that area and this building.
Nice.
Any further questions right now, guys?
No, sir, not for me.
Not for me. All right. Anybody else want to speak in favor?
We're neighbors across the lake.
Would you like to see?
Yeah, just,
We just have a.
we're not opposed.
in opposition.
But our neighbors, they couldn't come, so we can't.
Do you want to?
You know, Mike Freeberg, you mentioned your name for him, yeah. No, we just want to see what's
Yeah,
going
no,
on.
I'm happy.
We have that.
We have.
And so this is, we're kind of looking at, this is a kind of rustic, modern kind of look for
Okay.
That's really striking.
The questions that we have, we keep hearing.
Okay, wait a minute now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
A little bit I don't mind, but we,
What's he saying?
hey, folks.
Oh, I have to go over there.
Folks,
Yeah, they'll tell you. I'll sit down.
there's no problem. I just gotta swear you in if you're gonna ask questions.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this application for a special exception before the Reed Creek Watershed Board of Zoning Appeals is the truth, the whole truth, so you swear affirm? Anybody who wants to speak, stand up and swear and affirm.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep, I do.
Hang on, keep standing for a minute, okay, now, just name and address for the record.
Robert Rayleigh, 110 Parkview Drive, Cranesville, Maryland.
Michelle Nagoda, 343 Doc Thompson Road.
Thank you.
And you guys?
Stuart Lumsden, 935 Grosse Point Road.
Okay.
Scott Hollander, 981.
Okay, so that'll save us a little time, and now we can get everybody to ask questions answered. What's your
Okay.
question?
Our curiosity mostly encompasses the cove, because we have really minimal traffic right now, and it's kind of nice. So we've heard some different things. We read the whole thing, and we talked to some people. But we heard that, and some of this is probably not true, we heard that they proposed building 1,000 houses over there. Is that anywhere near realistic? No, okay. We also heard that you were applying to DNR to get quite a few more docks in the water. Is that true?
Not that I know of now.
That,
Okay.
I think that's left over from the previous.
Pardon me?
That's left over from the previous request. And dock permits is really not our review anyway.
Okay, so that would be, yeah. But that's our biggest concern, those of us across the street, the cove. And, you know, so we just were worried a little bit about extra traffic and, you know, and we love the idea, clubhouse and, you know, bar, lounge, and it all sounds great. And so we wondered if maybe y'all would dredge the cove for us. That would be peachy.
Yeah, I want to check the budget on that one.
It'd also be expensive.
I think the DNR would frown heavily upon that.
That's my other joke.
Yes, really nice.
All right, who else want to speak?
In favor.
In favor? Or at this
Opposition
point,
here, opposition.
everybody else opposition, all right, stand.
No, in favor.
Oh, you're in favor?
Bobby,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have to speak. I just testified.
Just in case, that's fine, that's cool, all right.
That's okay. Scott Hollander, 981 Grosse Point Road. I'm here to speak in favor, but ask that the board consider including two conditions that would, I think, address everyone's needs. One involves sound. As you talked about before, at the prior zoning hearing that was so contentious with the marina, which I did speak in support of that at that time. At that point, the conditions there, and I have a copy of the decision in the record, there was to be no amplified sound. That's one of the points that was being made. And I think that's one of the opposition things that circulated is asking for that now. I'm not asking for that. What I think is important, though, to recognize is that the language here about the COMAR regulations, about the sound, leaves a lot of uncertainty about how much sound there will be, where it will travel. And this is not a typical piece of property. This isn't my house boundary next to someone else's house boundary, where you can look cleanly at that boundary and see where that sound is. As you pointed out, it's 850 feet from one house to the other. So if you're going to have sound so loud and can transmit over the property line to that, it really creates some risk. That pond will bounce that noise, just like the water that bounces across the water and you hear things at night. So my request would be that when you look at the COMAR regs, that there be something further, not to impose the same imposition as before, where there be no amplified sound whatsoever, but the measurement of the COMAR sound to be done at the parcel line. Of that parcel 7.
Which is part of the COMAR requirement.
There's
is
some
that it's measured
confusion,
at
and
the
in
line.
talking to the applicants, they feel that they could go to the property of the entire golf course line. And so if that could be included as part of the language, just to clarify that it's in there. So we as neighbors, if there's a dispute, no one wants to call the sheriff. We want to always say, hey, bring your app, check out the meter. Are you over that level at that line or not? So that's one thing that I think would be really helpful to clarify it, so we just have a better working relationship with everybody. And if that could be part of the conditions upon which this special exception was granted, I think that would be terrific, and then we'd all be clear. And it sounds like you were already thinking that was the case, so I had you at hello. The second point that I wanted to address was more about the traffic and safety issues. You talked about how the entrance area will be safer, and because the traffic and where that golf cart crossing is right there. That is not the only golf cart crossing on the course. There's another one at 1,000 Acres Road, and the plans are, as I understand it, for 2 more crossings, one at the curve of Grosse Point Road, and another on 1,000 Acres Road. Clearly, if the golf course is to be successful, which we want it to be, because we don't want 1,000 houses being developed on this lot, on those lots, the idea is to generate more business. The clubhouse is designed to do that. It's an enticement for more people to come. That's why there are 165 parking spots in that plan. That's going to bring a lot of people in. Going to a restaurant and a bar that serves alcohol until midnight at night, 10 p.m. outside. And so that led to some concerns. And I have raised these with the applicant and with the Thousand Acres Association board. The concern is this, that they're using the Thousand Acres Road as an access point, and they're bringing all this additional traffic in across there. They're having more people drinking, they're having more use, they'll have more golf carts, more crossings. That creates a risk of an accident on the Thousand Acres Road, not just in the part that's being driven there. So it has that kind of traffic impact overall. I had planned to come today to ask for a delay because, well, one of the provisions, I believe it's 10.10C2, mentioned that there was, this was presented to the community associations. The Thousand Acres membership weren't aware of this, and so I had raised that issue. And I'm not saying they didn't comply with the notice, they did, the notice is fine. But there wasn't really an opportunity to talk about that and address the fact that this creates liability. If there's a golf course vehicle accident on Thousand Acres Road, then the claim could also include the Thousand Acres Association did not properly mark the road. It should have had a stop sign, should have had a yield sign, those kinds of things. And what I really appreciate that the applicant has agreed is I had asked them to delay this to the next hearing so we could all talk about that, perhaps include some indemnification language that could be part of what would bring everyone on board so that that could be addressed. And Harry Knipp, the president of the Thousand Acres Association, did send an email on Tuesday asking for a delay in this proceeding so that that could, there'd be more time to be vetted by the Thousand Acres membership. The applicant decided to proceed anyway, but did kindly tell us last night that they're willing to work with Thousand Acres Association to address that issue and have and negotiate an indemnification provision. So I don't know if this works, and I don't really know how this works. But if that could be either part of this, if the final decision could be, contingent upon that, or to allow that to happen, that would address the second issue about safety and concerns, so that the Thousand Acres Association doesn't end up incurring the burden of liability for the additional risks and those things that will benefit the golf course. So that's the second request. And the last thing I had about the sound was that, as I understand it, if those sound requirements, those Comar sound levels, which have day and night levels right now at 65 decibels during the day and 55 at night, if it could be clearly stated in the decision that those will not be exceeded at any time, with the amplified sound, that would be helpful too, because there's some concern that for a wedding or something like this, there would be a louder band, and that's another special exception. But we would hope that any other special exception for a specific event would not be able to exceed those levels, and that this decision from the board would address that issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mine is short and technical. If I may. My name is Stuart Lumsden, 935 Grosse Point Road. And I've only received and gotten a hold of the actual laws and regulations related to the sound measurement. I was by trade a loudspeaker designer for 42 years and part of an audio company that owns a bunch of major international audio brands and stuff like that. So my background is in practical nature, acoustics, and the measurement and the use of sound one way or another. It is not in particular in going out and measuring environmental sound for this purpose. So I had to read up and see what was going on. I got a lot of help from the golf course, and I really appreciate it. I think they ought to be able to do exactly what they're trying to do. If the architect, if Doug is successful at putting the measures of orientation of where sound's going to be emanating in the right way. What's missing, though, is a statement about the nature of, in the law, is a statement about the nature of the measurement. There are a number of ways of using the measurement tools. There are ways of sort of listening to average sound. There are ways of listening to peak sound, and I'll leave it at those two decisions. The types of sound that are most likely to be, to come from this have to do with, you know, music people yelling, and music being either amplified or not amplified but played. Those things are more impulsive, moving us towards the relevance of a peak measurement. And I believe that ought to be stated, because this document, the state document, COMAR, really says, well, I won't read it, but it says, we may or may not use standards, ANSI standards for this. So it equivocates on that. And every type 2 measurement device that it refers to will have settings for a peak measurement. And again, I think they'll be able to meet those, and I think that it's the proper way to measure it, and I think it'll keep everybody happy if they do. And that's all I have to say on that.
Well, it's very interesting because I play music in a band. I get loud sometimes, but Bill's been dealing with this for years down at the Honey with his meter out there along the property line, measuring sounds. It's something we're pretty familiar with, and we have a standard, and the standard is the state standard. And I'm sure there'll be some mention of it in the decision.
Okay, well, if we could follow that guide, the guidance I'm giving, I would find that useful. I'm not sure what you mean, because the standard doesn't actually mention that detail of measurement.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit beyond our, you know, we're not sound experts. We certainly have experience with it, but we're not sound experts.
Yes, but you listen a lot.
Yeah, my biggest problem is feedback, and I don't like it. At least in the music business, and you know what that is.
All right.
But, yeah, I'm sure we'll try and address something along those lines. We have a set of standards that we follow pretty closely for everybody. And we'll have something.
I'd love to know what those are, because that beyond was mentioned.
Well, we'll have it. It addresses basically those standards, but
The first hearing,
cites those as our reference. We wanted to use the state standards.
Was this from the first hearing?
Those are our standards
Those are our standards
for
now.
live outdoor music.
And a couple other things there. That probably be incorporated into there.
Yeah.
Live music will be limited from 12 noon to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. This is standards that we've used throughout history. Speakers will be directed inward. And all non-amplified music is permitted at any time at the proposed locations. Live music will be limited to the location outlined on the plat submitted with the application and further delineated by the board. The location is on the ground level deck pavilion of the
That's a
restaurant.
more
That's
specific
specific
point.
for a different place, you know. A parking plan must be submitted, and if events take parking places that are part of the approved parking plan, so we do take into consideration events that, and they have need to have a plan for that. The volume of the music must be sampled on a weekly basis during events, must comply with COMAR standards for noise levels, section 137063C of the zoning ordinance. That's the standards that we generally do.
I get that. It still doesn't tell me where to set that button on my meter, which will make a difference in the level that's read. And again, I'm not in opposition, because I believe with proper application of technique, Doug can make sure that this doesn't happen. I'm just saying this is going to be the only way to get a measurement that's relevant to the type of sound that's going to be coming from there. And the word is peak. Right? So when you pick up your meter and you look at it and you push the button that says peak, that's what you read.
Mm-hmm.
You can collect them and even have a way of memorizing them.
Wouldn't the peak be the highest possible, the worst
It would
case
collect,
scenario?
you know, as music goes by, it just as me talking, there are spaces that are of dead sound in between the plosive nature of my voice. So it would collect the peaks.
So the
And
peak,
tell you what the, you know, the highest ones, you can even sort of, you know, collect a number of them.
and that should be the only thing that anyone's interested in, the worst
Yes.
case scenario.
Right, because, well, yeah, and because of the nature of, yeah, I agree. And because it says nothing about that in Comar, it doesn't even say, looking at the statute for both the generalized one and the measurement.
Yeah, it's my understanding it's the peak.
Well, good, if you guys are doing the measurement, then.
And I can tell you from
That's-
practicality of using the type 2 dB measurements, that the peak is all I look at.
Good.
That's exactly what I look at. All the other is inconsequential.
And we don't care about the root mean
Noise.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Any rebuttal or talk, or what else you got for us, Doug?
I would, when we're looking at this design, like, obviously we haven't gone super far, but we would definitely want to consider sound as an issue. There are neighbors that are much closer than that, within 800 feet, so we definitely want to be careful with that. So we definitely take that into consideration when we're doing the design work on that. I do have a question. Do we have, would it be another special exception for live entertainment, or does this cover that as well? Because we're addressing sound right now, and I know.
We are gonna look at that. It was my contention that we were gonna assume that as part of it because you were applying for events to be held out
Okay,
there.
okay.
So,
All right.
if the board,
No, I gathered from the questions and the way you stated this, that's part of the special exception.
Okay, great, thank you.
in certain instances, we have to do that separately because a venue is already established and we're adding that to it.
Okay,
Right.
I don't know that you're
Fire
right.
water.
All right,
We did.
great, thanks.
Didn't we? I think so.
Anybody else have any questions for Doug?
No, sir, no.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, well, we'll conclude the public testimony portion, and we're going to deliberations now. You probably gonna want that back. All right, do I hear a motion to approve since it's a special exception?
I'll make the motion to approve.
A second.
And all right, now, discussion. Obviously, we're gonna need some conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, need some conditions.
I gathered one of the things that he said was measuring the sound
SE
on the
494.
property line. Is that done? They wanted, I think what they, I don't know how someone does that, I guess the golf cart can drive out there and measure, but that seems, it seems like that you'd have greater sound closer to the clubhouse.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm gonna say that we have our standard restrictions that I just read included.
Yes.
Yes.
And what about this, the working with the applicant on indemnification? I don't, will we get involved in that at all? It sounds like something for a lawyer.
That covers the sound. We had the question about the indemnification.
Yeah.
He used two words, either approve or disapprove, or allowed them to make a decision together. And obviously, we would allow them to make a
Yes.
decision and encourage them to speak and work something. I don't think we can require anything specific to that.
I don't think we can put a condition on it. I think we just emphasize that we encourage it or whatever, you know, that's the best path.
We'll put that in there, encourage the association to work with the clubhouse on issues. I don't know that it's something that Sounds to me like it's gonna happen anyway. but-
I can write that. I'm not sure that that's part of our zoning
Yeah.
purview, so.
Well, that runs into that same problem we've been having, but, I don't think it hurts to say it. It's not something we're requiring. We just are gonna request that it happen. Unless you guys don't want it on there, I don't care.
Well, that had to do with, that was in the context of road traffic, was it not? Okay, so, we're looking at suitable in terms of effects on road traffic. This is the granting of the special exception, so, and road traffic safety with adequate access arrangements to protect roads from undue congestion and hazard. I think that it does fall within our purview to mention it and encourage, an agreement.
All right, well, let's just add that. Is that okay with everybody? I think it's within our purview to encourage it. It's not something we can require.
It's just a suggestion.
Yeah. All right. Any other conditions?
We have it as part of testimony for downlighting considerations. We need to add that in there.
Do you want that in? I mean, it's required that all lighting in the ordinance be faced downward inward.
Down and
Down in it.
But same with speakers, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Do we need to say?
I don't
that?
think so. No.
Okay. Anything else?
I didn't hear anything else. No.
All right, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let me know if I passed the quiz. You want some pretty pictures back?
Maybe supply me with some plans and comment for plans. Very good.
Doug, you want this stuff tonight?
Really pretty.
I'm keeping mine, sorry. I'm keeping mine. He'll be down there to check on you, you better build it.
Might get a job as a building inspector.
Somebody said you're going to have to check on me by the end of the week.
Congratulations, thank you.
They want the garage, and the garage, go up steps to get to that garage. Help me go. I've seen it there. I have a sketch started, but I want to get there.
I do, but we're not playing.
Yeah, he texted me the other day, I talked to him last night. He thought sometime in the week, first week, he'd have something we could look at. Bruce, he's excited on that. They're a great couple. The house was a summer home, we never had heat in it.
Oh, really?
No.